For more on this, we want to bring in former U.S. Senator Pat Toomey. He is now a Coinbase senior advisor. And Senator Toomey, you have lived through some of these government shutdowns. What do you think happened here? And by the way, we should note for people who aren't familiar, most people know you're a Republican, but what do you think happened with all of this?
Well, actually, pretty much what usually happens, Becky. You know, this is not terribly out of the ordinary. The big challenge for Kevin McCarthy and House Republicans is, can they hold together and actually pass something, a continuing resolution that would fund the entire government for some limited period of time. If you'll recall back a few months ago when there was a big battle over whether or not and under what circumstances to raise the debt ceiling, President Biden's position was categorical. He was absolutely not going to negotiate under any circumstances, period. And he held that position for exactly as long as it took for Republicans to pass a debt ceiling increase with conditions. And then he was immediately at the table negotiating. It's, first of all, there's a little bit of move in the goalposts because there was a spending agreement that was embedded in that debt ceiling increase. And now there's a discussion about a different spending level. And by the way, I'm very sympathetic with those who would like to have less spending. But I think you're going to have to acknowledge if Republicans can't come together and pass something, bargaining, negotiating power is absolutely minimized. The way this ends is the way it has usually ended, which is going to be virtually all the Democrats, some subset of Republicans, from Kevin McCarthy's point of view, hopefully a majority. And the question will be, does his conference as a whole believe that he did the best he could under the circumstances and is therefore able to retain his speakership? I think that's what we're going to see play out over the next few weeks. Yeah,
that was where I was going to go, Senator. Let's say that the Senate bill goes with the notion that Senator Sinema is going to introduce an amendment that does something for border security. So McCarthy brings it to a vote, gets Democratic help. It goes to the Senate. They do the amendment. It all gets done. Let's say the speaker decides to do that. Then someone like Matt Gaetz is going to challenge him for the speakership. Does he retain his speakership, or does he lose enough Republicans? Or would any Democrats vote for him in that case?
So that's a few sort of iterations down the road, Joe. It's unprecedented in my recollection and my knowledge of history to have members of the other party vote to confirm a speaker. But look, I think one lesson we've learned is don't count Kevin McCarthy out. He is very, very adept at dealing with this very difficult set of circumstances. Honestly, I didn't think he could pass a debt ceiling increase with just Republicans, but he did. It changed the dynamics. They were able to negotiate actually a reduction in non-defense spending. Joe Biden did not want to do that. He wants to spend much, much more than what he agreed to. So we don't know exactly all the iterations along the way, but I sure wouldn't count Kevin McCarthy out.
Hey, Senator, wanted just to switch gears on you for a moment. I know we introduced you as a senior advisor now to Coinbase. We've got an interview coming up in the 8 o'clock hour with Brian Armstrong. He's been in Washington trying to change the dynamic around regulating cryptocurrency. He's doing it specifically on the eve of the Sam Bankman-Fried trial, which begins next week. And given both the sort of dichotomy between an excitement that somehow an ETF, because BlackRock and others are seeking one, and some of the results of lawsuits that seem to have gone more in the crypto way than others, but at the same time, this news that we're all going to be, I assume, tracking and following for the next 4 or 6 weeks, if not longer. Do you have any expectation that there's going to be regulation of any sort around crypto in the next, call it 12 months?
Look, it's going to, well, you said regulation. We have regulation by enforcement. We have an SEC that simply asserts jurisdiction with a very, very weak case and then goes and takes people to court without specifying how and why and under what criteria they deem so many tokens to be securities, for instance. So that's an ongoing major problem. I'm glad you alluded to the interest and adoption by mainstream traditional finance. I would add to the list that it's not just the big asset managers that would like to do spot Bitcoin ETFs, but you have Visa announcing a significant expansion of its use of stablecoins for international payment settlements. You have PayPal announcing that it's going to issue its own stablecoin also for payment settlements. Adoption is taking place, and it would be so much better for all American consumers, developers, this whole ecosystem, if we could pass legislation, provide clear guardrails, and then the regulators could enforce according to that legislation. The House took a big, important step. The House Financial Services Committee passed legislation out of the committee. It was bipartisan, had all the Republicans, a good handful of Democrats. Patrick McHenry has been leading that effort. I know he wants a vote on the House floor. I think he's got a good chance of passing actually one or two bills that would create those guardrails, provide that regulatory clarity. I don't see a prospect in the Senate, and I don't think the administration is supportive, but the differences are bridgeable. It's a long shot to get this done in this Congress, Andrew, but it's long overdue. I'd like to see the House pass something this fall and set us up for finally passing something in the next Congress if it has to wait that long.